Hey everybody, welcome back to the Wacky Wonderful Show. This is what, week 3 of Star Wars content?
Week 3, it's episode 13 though.
Yeah, so episode 13 of the Wacky Wonderful Show, week 3 of Star Wars content.
That's right, and guess what, dude?
What's that?
This show is now on Spotify.
Is it really?
It is.
I didn't know. I genuinely didn't know.
We're putting it up there right next to our podcast on Spotify.
Cool.
Why not? Why not?
We getting any hits?
Well, no, it's not.
Oh, okay.
I mean, as of this, it's been up for like a couple weeks, but currently no, because nothing's live yet. No. But
that's all right.
Hey, look.
That's all right.
Yeah, week 3 of Star Wars. You overwhelmed yet?
No, not really. There's a lot of Star Wars stuff to get into, but there's a lot of Star Wars stuff.
That's right.
To talk about. So it feels like...
It's kind of like picking inside of an ocean.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what are you going to have for dinner when you have the entire seafood world to choose from?
Yeah.
It's like, do I want salmon or scallops?
Right.
You know, do I want crab?
Tuna.
You know, I don't typically go for tuna. That's an easy pick. But do I want crab or do I want shrimp?
Right. I like the sushi, though.
Mm.
I'll go for the sushi almost every time.
Yeah, but the sushi's a variety. The sushi's like
rice I like the raw
seaweed.
fish. I like the raw fish sushi.
Do you go for tuna or salmon?
All of it.
All of it. But the thing is...
I like the way the fish feels between my teeth.
I'm a salmon and shrimp guy. That's me.
Okay.
So I like those kind of sushis. I'm not a typical
I like salmon.
tuna
I like
guy.
shrimp. I love catfish. Dude, I freaking love catfish.
I need to have me some catfish. I haven't had it in a minute. I've forgotten what it tastes like.
It's got, rich, bold flavor. There's always a lot of meat on a catfish. It doesn't break apart super easy.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like the best of all the worlds. So,
well, are there any fish in the Star Wars universe?
Well, there's like the Mon Calamari people.
Okay.
So they're like squids.
Fish-like.
Yeah.
Okay, sick. So we're getting back into week 3 of Star Wars, and man alive, I'm not overwhelmed. I am overwhelmed. I'm more so overwhelmed with the direction of ideas you can go with. Because when you're trying to craft something for what's going to be enjoyed by an audience, you kind of have to roll with more trending ideas.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you can go to old stuff, but is old stuff going to be enjoyed? Maybe not really, because everything's already been done about the old stuff.
Unless you put some sort of new spin on it or connect it.
Exactly. And so it's kind of an overwhelming and vast pool to select from. But yet here we are. Week 3, we're about halfway through.
You've also got to think about, you were telling me before the show, one of the videos that you wanted to use, Disney doesn't want you to use it. They're gonna
Disney's a
copyright
stickler
that.
when it comes to their Star Wars, man. They're like, no.
Yeah.
No, you can't put this on YouTube. So
right. It's tough.
Yeah, and the nature of my thing is I like to talk about filmmaking, obviously, if you watch the show. So, you got to play video.
Yeah.
And in order to play video, you have to make sure you're not...
to the dark side? You think you could use my content, get away with it? No. Join me. Now.
Look, Disney, I've said many times, and I'll continue to say, has been the best and worst thing that happened to Star Wars.
Yeah.
I know last week I talked about, Disney backing Jon Favreau's vision for the filmmaking of The Mandalorian, and it's just so complex. They're really being the same way that the old films were. They're being incredibly revolutionary or being incredibly futuristic with how they are incorporating technology that doesn't even really exist yet into the filmmaking process.
Yeah.
You know, they're using a video game system called Unreal.
Mm-hmm.
But 3 years from now, they're going to have a company that's exactly the same as Unreal, but catered towards the filmmaking industry for things like the volume, the LED walls. But right now, they're like, well, let's use what we have, that's video game technology, and let's make Star Wars.
And it's really crazy to me that, in the past, especially if you look at The Force Awakens, everything involving The Force Awakens, the behind the scenes story writing, the characters, everything, they were so careful. Like, this is Star Wars.
Yeah.
This is Star Wars. We got to make this special. This is Star Wars.
Yes.
And it's they're making strange executive decisions. And so we got a movie that was essentially A New Hope. Because they were like, this is Star Wars, we got to be careful.
Yeah.
And then
tread lightly.
In these new shows, it feels like there are parts where they're having the same kind of executive problems, where the executives are like, no, we need this in Star Wars. And it's not working. Yeah. Nobody wanted the Mos Vespa gang. Nobody was looking for that.
No. We don't want the tattoo parlor. No. Teenage savior.
No, we don't need any of that.
Moody vibe. We don't want it.
Yeah.
So,
that was really good.
Thanks.
Wow. That was actually really impressive.
Thanks.
Well, with that, kind of wrapping up those thoughts, we're going to get into some of the good stuff in Star Wars.
So I'm going to be opening this off with taking a look at how Star Wars communicates emotions cinematically, specifically with characters who you don't see their face.
Yeah.
Because acting, a lot of times, actors say acting is here. What happens if here is not an option?
Yeah.
How do you communicate what's needing to be communicated emotion-wise? Yeah. And then you're going to come in and do a what?
I'm going to be talking a little bit about Ahsoka Tano. Yeah, Ahsoka's, kind of a big thing in the live action shows right now.
Yeah.
And
she's kind of the lead character for a lot of the animated stuff.
A lot of people don't know Ahsoka from the show.
Because they've only watched the live actions.
Yeah, they've only seen the live actions. Because to be honest, the Clone Wars TV show is a show for, young people. Even though it has a lot of Star Wars content, a lot of enjoyable Star Wars stuff.
And a lot of lore.
But it has a lot of lore in it. And it's essentially the Ahsoka Tano show. It's really, a lot of it is about her.
Yeah.
And it's amazing that they've managed to connect her throughout the years to the different series and different characters. So that's really cool.
So you're going to be doing a character breakdown of Ahsoka.
So sort of.
It's
sort of a character breakdown, kind of just like a lot of informational stuff about some of the things that happened in her life.
Maybe a get to know her.
Yes, kind of a get to know.
Kind of like a pre-dating situation.
Right.
Kind of like I swiped left.
Yeah.
Or I swiped right.
Well, this is maybe a little bit more information than you're going to get on that swipe,
Yeah.
Not like, I like dogs and my master turned evil. Not that kind of stuff. But
what do you call the things that hang down?
I don't know.
Her ears?
They're not ears. It's like hair.
Okay.
Because it grows.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's why everyone was like, why aren't they longer?
Yeah, because in Star Wars Rebels, her tendril things are much longer. But then, they dialed it back when they went to the live action. So
yeah, Dave Filoni's like, I got to make these grow longer as we do live action, so we got to pretend they weren't as long as they were.
No, I don't think he's going to make them grow long. I think the design choice is just a design choice.
Okay.
You're bringing a cartoon character into live action. Plus, you don't want the actress to be wearing this big, heavy thing on her head.
She's going to have to. She's playing Ahsoka.
Well, she already is wearing a big, heavy thing on her head. But if you add, all the weight... I mean, the one on her back goes like all the way down to her butt.
That's true.
She's going to be having to wear that all day on set.
That's
would
a
be
lot
tough.
of neck workout.
Even if it's like a foam type stuff. And if it's a foam, you're not getting the movement.
Okay, if Ahsoka was real, let's answer this question when we get back at the end. If Ahsoka was real, would you be willing to date her? And would you be into her?
We're answering this on the way back?
We're answering this at the end of our segments. Okay. So, with that said, let's go ahead and get into emotion, cinematic communication, and character breakdown.
Yeah.
Get to know Ahsoka Tano. Let's get into it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the studio. We're here once again to look at some Star Wars content. I know it's been a good time. We got a chance to look at Cad Bane. We got a chance to look at some of the fascinating technology that they are being innovative with in the world of cinematography, filmmaking, inside of the story of Star Wars. And so we're this week going to actually take a look at a little bit of communication in the world of cinema and visual storytelling. And a big part of this is I couldn't think of a better story to talk about this for. It's basically how to communicate emotion when you don't have this. By this, meaning the face, obviously. A lot of Star Wars characters have masks. We're going to be looking at two different scenes and analyzing them to try to bring out how are the cinematographers and filmmakers communicating the emotion of the character to us when you can't see the emotion of the character, essentially. If this is your first time watching one of these videos, I'm Joe. Thank you for joining me today. And I've done a handful of short films. I've done all kinds of content creation. And so I've been really self-teaching myself in the art of filmmaking. Because of that, that leads to analyzing and being fascinated in the craft of filmmaking, visual storytelling, cinematography. I believe that if you watch films and you know what to look for, well, then you can actually learn the art of filmmaking just by watching. But you first have to know what to look for. And so that's what I'm here to help you do today. So we're going to go ahead and kind of take a look at two scenes, one from Return of the Jedi. The focus will be on Darth Vader. And then the other one will be The Mandalorian from, I think, season 2. It involves Grogu and Ahsoka Tano. We're going to see how specifically Darth Vader and then The Mandalorian acts, how their emotion is being communicated to us. So let's go ahead and open with the scene from Return of the Jedi to get started.
Now, young Skywalker, you will die.
I love this old style filming. Okay, first off, I want to just say this, that the first thing I'm noticing right off the bat is framing and movement. And so Darth Vader, who was previously known as Anakin, obviously, is having emotions about his son that he has not previously experienced. He doesn't want to see his son die, and he's just kind of now realizing that. And it's interesting how they communicated this visually is there's just a slight push in on a close-up of him as he's watching Luke be tortured by the Emperor. So let's keep watching. I think they go to another one. He also looks to the Emperor and kind of sees like he's kind of going back and forth between these opposing factors and almost has an internal struggle of like, who am I loyal to? My son or essentially my boss or my mentor? As he's observing his son being tortured, look at this shot right here. Right there. We see that kind of very slow push in just to feel the intensity of saying there's an internal struggle here. And so that's actually significant, especially when you don't have, you can't see someone's eyes. People say the eyes are the window to the soul. When you can't see that, you have to communicate that in every other way possible. And so let's just watch a few more seconds of this and kind of feel maybe another avenue, not just visually, but what are we hearing auditorially? Let's take a listen to this. So it's not just framing, but it's also what we're hearing. So we obviously hear him say no, but more importantly, we hear the intense strikes of the force lightning, and you hear it, and it's very shrill. It's very like soul piercing. But then you also have the intensity of the music. You hear this choir, you hear the symphony, and it's building with emotion. And it's kind of like this, it's not the same song, but it kind of lends itself very nicely to the relationship between father and son. If you hear it, you kind of feel like the torture of a father mentally as you hear his son, but then the music lends itself to that turmoil. You hear that? So it actually plays super well to see where's the direction of the emotion, what is the internal struggle with Darth Vader. It's not just visually, and it's not just this back and forth looking on this close-up, which a close-up is important. It's significant when it comes to filmmaking. It's kind of the focus of the scene, but it's super cool to see how we're not seeing anybody's face, but we're seeing him look around to make a decision between, am I loyal to this guy or am I loyal to this young man who happens to be my son? You feel that. You feel it very strongly. So I would say in this scene, one thing I'm noticing big is the framing and the movement of the framing, the close-up, that push in to say, hey, there's emotion here. And then also just the intense music going on in the background to show that strife, to show that inner turmoil Darth Vader is feeling. Let's go to another scene. It's actually from The Mandalorian. And we're going to take a look at Mando interacting with Grogu and a little bit of Ahsoka here. So let's go ahead and watch this.
He's hidden his abilities to survive over the years. Let's try something else. Come over here.
He's stubborn.
Not him. You. I want to see if he'll listen to you.
That would be a first.
I like firsts. Good or bad, they're always memorable. Now hold the stone out in the palm of your hand and tell him to lift it up.
So first thing I'm noticing, obviously we have a repeat of, we get the music, the lack of music shows the tone for the scene. It kind of shows the tone for the character, but it also, the framing makes it feel kind of detached. Everything is kind of like this medium to long shot as we see here. And so everything's kind of detached. You feel a little detached from Grogu and Ahsoka and Mando. There's not that close connection because Grogu is not participating in this exercise. So we see a little bit of the emotion. We can feel it, but then to add something to that is actually the supporting characters. So one way that I believe Star Wars, even in the last clip, very strongly utilizes is supporting characters where you are very clearly seeing the emotion. With Grogu, he's super cute. Whenever he's on frame, everybody's got their eye on Grogu because he's a little baby. He's cute. The supporting characters in a scene, whether they're a puppet or whether they're real, they are motivating the character like Mando, his emotions that you can't see communicated. I think supporting characters is a big point, not just framing, not just music, or in this case, the lack of music, but also the interaction and the emotions of the supporting characters. They play a heavy role in projecting what our masked character might be feeling.
All right, kid. Lift the stone.
Grogu.
And you see that he's just like Grogu, you can kind of feel the emotion, you know? It's kind of in his body language. I would say that's another big part of this is body language. Even if you go back just a little bit when she's referencing to come here and try something and he's reacting to stuff, his body language plays a big part of it.
He's stubborn.
Not him.
Shaking his head.
You. I want
What?
to see if he'll listen to you.
But let's keep watching and see how we can kind of see multiple layers of this communication played out here.
Grogu.
I know I keep pausing this, but I think it's significant. You know, he has to be a little bit more expressive in his body language. Like he's doing like a lot of stuff with his head. Whereas like if he's looking around, you in real life, an actor might just choose to give one of these, you know? And here, in order to be convincing, he has to. And you know, it's reasonable because he had a little bit of line of sight with his mask, but he is a little bit more exaggerated with his reactions to things.
Come on. Take the stone. You see? I told you he's stubborn.
Try to connect with him.
You notice they were on this medium shot as he's trying to get him to get the stone, and then it cuts away because he's like, oh, we're disconnected. He's not trying. Even though he attempted, it got closer. It unattached and got to a long shot because they're like, it's not working. All right, we're a little closer here. See a little push in from the camera right there, just a very slight. Little push in on him. Okay.
Grogu. Do you want this?
See, now we're at a close-up. So as we're getting more connected, we see that framing move in closer and closer. From what felt detached is now getting more intimate. And that's a part of what we were saying earlier with framing plays a big part in emotion.
Well, go ahead. That's right, take it. Come on. You can have it. Come on. Good job. Good job, kid. You see that?
I think that's really well done. There's a few editing choices that maybe if I was the editor, I would have chose differently. But if we also go back just a few moments and take a listen, as he's figuring out what does Grogu want, there's history there. So that plays a big part in the emotion. So I need to acknowledge the history of the storytelling. But that's more storytelling more than it is, you know, the specific how do we communicate this emotion on screen. So the little ball from the spaceship, that is history between the two characters. But notice when he has the idea, we hear that music come in. As we start to see that little push in and he has this idea, we hear that music come in. You hear that? Where before it was silent. And the little head movements really show that he's having thoughts and that the music cues are important to communicate, hey, it's becoming intimate, it's becoming connected once again, when before it was silent. So if I'm analyzing these two things, I would say what Star Wars utilizes the most to communicate emotion in their films or their shows is, number one, music plays the biggest role, even across cinema, not just in Star Wars. You tell the emotion of the character based on music. If the audience doesn't know what to feel, tell them with the genre, the feel, the emotion of the music. And then you have frame movement or just framing in general. If things are becoming intimate, if things are becoming connected, if things are becoming emotional, get closer, focus in. If they feel detached, widen up. And then you have supporting characters. They play a big part in the emotion. They can project their emotion onto the other character who you don't see as much emotion from. And then obviously body language. You have to be a little bit more exaggerated. Obviously Darth Vader has to physically turn. He can't just slightly look over and back at Luke And then back at the Emperor, he actually has to physically turn. So you very clearly see what's going on. Same with Mando, as he's looking around and reacting to things. He has to move, you know. If he has a thought, he's sticking his head up like this and then pulling out things. You know, his body language is more animated. And then the thing that I have to acknowledge, but I don't tend to appreciate, but they do a lot in Star Wars, is exposition. They've done it from the beginning of the very first movie, A New Hope, all the way to modern day. They do exposition the best. And I don't mean they do it really well. I mean they are the most commonly used for exposition, I guess. And maybe that is because they have so many puppets and characters that are in masks, or maybe it's because the story is so elaborate they have to constantly communicate. But exposition is another way of communicating the emotions, literally just telling the audience what they feel. That's an easy way to do it. I would say, in my opinion, if I was writing a story, that would be my last tactic. I prefer to show, don't tell. But, you know, Star Wars has a history of telling as opposed to showing in a lot of cases. And so I guess because we love Star Wars, we forgive it. But I would say out of those 5 things, music, framing and movement, supporting characters, body language, and then maybe some exposition, those are, in my opinion, the top 5 ways that Star Wars communicates emotions when you don't have a face to communicate it. So I hope this was enlightening to you. I hope it gets you thinking about, well, if there's a character I can't see their face on film, am I connected to them? Do I know what they're feeling? Do I know what they're thinking in this moment? And if I do, how did I know that? Well, it's the storytelling process. It's the cinematography. It's the creators behind the piece of work that has told you how they feel, and it's cool to analyze and understand those tactics. So if this was helpful, if this was enlightening, or if it was just fun and entertaining, I would appreciate it if you would give this video a like. If you would subscribe to the channel. I do these often, as well as my friend Wyatt and my brother. We do all kinds of content, from our podcast to videos like these to reactions for movie trailers and such. So we have all kinds of cool movie commentary stuff on this channel. I'd appreciate it if you subscribe, stick around, and thank you so much for watching. If you're interested and you're looking to support people on Patreon who do work like this, we have a Patreon. Just search Wiseworks or the link in the description and support us over on Patreon if that's something you're into. We greatly appreciate it. We love you. And now Wyatt's going to come in and he's going to give us a little bit of get to know you video on Ahsoka Tano from his wonderful storytelling brain and how he sees the world of Star Wars from a unique perspective and sometimes out of the box. So let's go ahead and get into it. Thanks for watching. We'll see you later.
Hey everyone, welcome to the video. Thank you so much for joining me here. We're going to be doing some Star Wars content again this week. This time we're going to be looking at a character from the Star Wars series. I was again sifting through Star Wars content, looking for what I wanted to work on this week, and I landed on a character that more recently has been very important in the Star Wars universe, just showed up in the live action shows fairly recently, and that is Ahsoka Tano. Ahsoka has been a character from when she first appeared in I believe it was the Clone Wars animated movie, which then became the Star Wars The Clone Wars animated show, and into Star Wars Rebels, and now into The Mandalorian and Boba Fett. So we're going to be breaking down her character, looking through the lens of kind of the storytelling aspects of how this character has progressed and what we might be able to see from her in the future. So let's go ahead and get started. At the beginning of the show, Ahsoka was kind of a character to be a foil for Anakin Skywalker. She was given to him as his Padawan by Yoda to teach him some lessons as well as to teach her some lessons, because they are both hot-headed characters who are very cocky and try to, feel like their way is the best, and do it that way. So at the beginning, Ahsoka was almost like a worse Anakin. You know, we only saw Anakin as a kid and as a teenager in the first 2 movies, and we didn't really get the full young Anakin experience. But in the beginning of the show, we see Ahsoka very much being extremely headstrong, extremely annoying, always making these cocksure decisions and usually ending up being right and not really being punished for her rash behavior. This was a storytelling choice that Dave Filoni made. She was universally disliked by the viewers, and these were character choices and storytelling choices that were intentional to make her character start off as somebody who you wouldn't generally like to be around or to have to work with, and then to progress her character throughout the series and make her a more well-rounded character. She's being a Jedi alongside established characters like Anakin and Obi-Wan and Yoda, characters that we've known for quite a long time, and to just introduce this new Padawan Jedi as a main star of the show is strange, and then to have her be an incredibly annoying part of the show is more strange, but that was part of the plan. There's a video that goes more in depth in this on YouTube. I believe it's by Lore Star, so you can go to YouTube and look up. They do a full breakdown of her going from being this annoying character to a better character and all the stuff that was kind of involved in that. As the character moves forward, she begins to learn and she begins to become a better, well-rounded Jedi who, you know, knows how to make smart decisions and knows how to be patient. That was a big episode of her learning how to be patient. She has a great relationship as the show moves on with Anakin Skywalker. It's a very almost like older brother and younger sister relationship. They're always having fun banter and making jokes with each other, always there to kind of support each other, and even going as far as making fun of Obi-Wan and calling him a stick in the mud sometimes. Just having a good time and really growing together as characters. There's a lot of really good moments between the two, heartfelt moments that make you kind of realize that, yeah, this Ahsoka character really is kind of part of Anakin's story, even though we didn't get to see that in the earlier films or in the prequel films. So eventually, Ahsoka, towards the end of the show, she's come a long way at this point, and she's a well-established character. I was kind of wondering as I watched the show, well, what happens to Ahsoka? Is she going to get killed during Order 66? What's going to happen? There's a couple episodes or 1 or 2 where she is framed for bombing the Jedi Temple. She has to go on the run, and she has to defend herself from everybody hunting her down and blaming her. And then ultimately, the Jedi Council does not back her up. When she says, I didn't do this, I wouldn't do this, I was framed, the Jedi Council doesn't back her up. And then after they prove her innocence, the council is like, no, you're innocent, and you know, we want you to come back into the Jedi Order and be a full Jedi Knight and, you know, all the good stuff. Ahsoka makes the decision that no, she kind of gets disillusioned to, you know, how the council works, and she decides, no, I don't think I want to walk this path, and she leaves to figure out what she wants to do in her life. And it was a tough scene. It was an emotional part of the show to see her leaving Anakin and the relationship that they had after what happened. So there was a brief hiatus where, you know, the Clone Wars was over, but they started making new shows, and, you know, things were happening. I believe she showed up on Star Wars Rebels before the final season of the Clone Wars, which the final season really just kind of wrapped up what happened with Ahsoka during Order 66 and introduced the Bad Batch. At the end of the series, there were a couple filler episodes, but at the end, Ahsoka and Bo-Katan, who we see in the Mandalorian show, lead a siege on Mandalore against the Death Watch, which is a group of extremist Mandalorians who believe their way is the best, and they're working for Darth Maul. They're also getting a little bit into the lore. The Death Watch is an extremist group who kind of an offshoot of that extremist group is the group of Mandalorians which Din Djarin, the Mandalorian, comes from in his show. They're not quite as bad as the Death Watchers, but they are also an extremist Mandalorian group. On Mandalore, Ahsoka encounters Darth Maul. They have a brief conversation where, he's trying to explain that the Sith are ramping up. Darth Sidious has this mass genocide plan, and that Anakin Skywalker is pivotal in this plan and has been groomed by his new master. So Ahsoka doesn't believe Darth Maul, obviously. He even offers for her to join him, and they can stop this, or they can bring an end to the Sith and probably the Jedi. But again, she refuses, and they have an epic battle. One of my favorite lightsaber battles. It really was beautiful how they did this scene. A lot of this battle is mocap with the original Darth Maul, played by Ray Park. Really epic battle. If you haven't seen it, even if you're not a fan of the Clone Wars show, definitely go on YouTube and look up this battle, because it's all mocap. It's really cool to watch. But after that, they capture Darth Maul. They're trying to transport him back to Coruscant, and that's when Order 66 happens. Ahsoka is on a ship with a lot of the members of the 501st, who are the clones that we've been following throughout the Clone Wars. So the Clone Wars is kind of a story about Ahsoka and about the 501st Legion, the first clones entering the war, and specifically a couple of the clones, one of which is Rex, who has been Ahsoka's friend since the beginning of the show. He's been a pivotal part of the show. Their relationship is, they're very close. He's served with her for a few years. And this incident happens as they're in transit. She doesn't expect it. Obviously, none of the Jedi expected it. But Rex starts having issues. He's trying to fulfill the order, but also trying to stop himself from fulfilling the order. Ahsoka eventually gets surrounded. She jumps up on a table. She's brandishing her lightsabers. Her lightsabers had been taken away after she left the Jedi Order, and these new ones were ones that Anakin gave her right before he left to do his mission guarding Emperor Palpatine. So the last thing, the last interaction between them was right before the events of Revenge of the Sith. He gives her these lightsabers. They have a nice interaction with each other, and then he leaves. But then she's surrounded by clones. She's on this ship. She's by herself. She can't trust anybody around her, and she manages to extract the, I guess it's kind of a biomechanical chip that's in their brain. She manages to extract that from Rex, and Rex only. And it's them two against all of the other clones on the ship. Clones that are, at this point, out of respect for Ahsoka, they painted their masks with the orange color of her skin and the markings on their face, because they love her so much as a general, as a commander. Eventually, Darth Maul escapes, the ship crashes, and only Rex and Ahsoka survive. And Ahsoka leaves her lightsabers at the scene, with the ship. She made a lot of graves for the clone troopers. And then there's a great scene afterwards where Darth Vader, it has to be months or weeks or could be years afterwards, and he finds the lightsabers that he gave her, sort of confirming in his mind that she's alive. After this, it transitions into Star Wars Rebels, where Ahsoka's not as much of a big player, but she's a key player. She saves Ezra Bridger and Kanan Jarrus from Inquisitors, And she's a big part of forming the rebellion with Bail Organa, Leia Organa's father. In this show, we finally get the kind of climactic reuniting to Ahsoka and Anakin. She encounters him first. He's in a TIE fighter chasing after the rebels in the show, and she feels the Force and senses that Darth Vader is Anakin Skywalker, which she did not know before. But they have a final battle on a Sith planet, and it's assumed that Ahsoka dies in this battle, but it was a really intense moment where she's telling him that she'll do whatever it takes, and he's telling her that, he destroyed Anakin Skywalker. There's no Anakin Skywalker here. She tells him that, she'll avenge her master. So there's this really epic fight scene between the two. She cuts off his mask, exposing, his red eyes, and there's a moment where you feel like he recognizes her fully, where it's Anakin Skywalker and not Darth Vader, and she realizes this as well. And she says that she's not going to leave him. She's not going to leave her master behind like she did before when she left the Jedi Order. He's not going to spare her. He says he's going to destroy her or whatever. And the last thing you see in Rebels of them is kind of this dome closing. Eventually, Ezra comes back through. He enters a time portal and pulls Ahsoka out of this moment in time. It's a little convoluted if you don't know the show, but long story short, Ezra kind of saves her. A future version of Ezra saves her and pulls her back into the timeline so she doesn't die. At the end of Rebels, Ahsoka and Sabine Wren, another Mandalorian, set out on an adventure to find Ezra Bridger. He uses the Force and his Force ability to sort of communicate with animals. He and a couple of space whales grab the main bad guy, Admiral Thrawn, and they transport somewhere. I don't know where. They just, with the power of the space whales, transport somewhere. It's a little wacky. It's a little crazy, but that's, Star Wars is kind of a crazy place to be. So that's where Rebels ended off. We didn't know where Ezra was. We didn't know where Admiral Thrawn was. And Ahsoka Tano and Sabine Wren were off on an adventure to find them. And that was kind of the end. That's kind of where we figured it would end. I at least didn't expect to see her in The Mandalorian, because we also heard her voice when Rey is hearing the voices of the dead Jedi. We hear Ahsoka's voice, kind of confirming that at that time, at least, she's dead. But we did see her again in an episode of The Mandalorian. She comes back to help the Mando with his little green Grogu problem. What to do with this Force being, this creature that he knows nothing about. He doesn't know about the Force. He doesn't know about the Jedi. And she kind of tells him, I can't really train him. I'm not really a Jedi. You're going to have to find an actual Jedi, and sends him on another journey to find another Jedi. And ultimately, he finds Luke Skywalker, which is really fun and also something I didn't expect, which led to kind of a really great moment in the Book of Boba Fett, where we get to see Ahsoka Tano and Luke Skywalker interacting. It's really sweet to see how, as a child, she trained from Anakin and had such a strong bond with Anakin. Then all these years later, to be kind of watching Anakin's son train somebody else, and their interactions with each other as two people who have gone through such difficult things with Anakin Skywalker. She ultimately wasn't able to save her master, but Luke was. He was able to save his father, which is a really cool thing to see. And it kind of harkens back to a previous episode where we talked about Star Wars. One of its main storytelling elements is hope. It's all about not giving up on, even those that you think are too far gone. And she gets to see that, even though Anakin's dead at this point, she gets to know that Luke saved him, essentially, that he brought him back, which is really cool. And then finally, we have the future of Ahsoka Tano. What is she going to be doing? What is this new show going to be about? I think it's really interesting in the artwork that they've put up. I don't believe this is an official art piece, but the Ahsoka part of it with the lines and everything is. And those lines are actually really important because in Rebels, the scene where Ezra pulls her out of the past, the space-time kind of place that he's in is made up of those lines, of those glowing things. And it looks very reminiscent of this pattern that we see behind the word Ahsoka. So we don't know what she's going to be doing. We don't have any information. But my prediction is going to be that it has to do with either Ezra Bridger, Sabine Wren, potentially, and perhaps Admiral Thrawn. I think Admiral Thrawn is going to be making his big return. He was mentioned in The Mandalorian. I think he's going to be making his big return in the Ahsoka show. We've had the building stages. We've seen Ahsoka go from being a brat to being a good Jedi on the run, helping form the rebellion, to now kind of a teacher and a kind of the Yoda-like character that our Jedi characters and our characters who need wisdom go to in this new era of Star Wars in the shows. I think we're going to get a little bit more of development on where she is now. She's obviously not the same person that we saw in Rebels. She's experienced the downfall of the Empire, and now she's kind of free to do whatever it is that she does. And we know from the novel, which I didn't get into, she's kind of all about helping people, going out and doing what she can for, communities and people. I think we're going to get to see a little bit of that, but I'm hoping that it's going to be a more linear story of her combating the return of Admiral Thrawn. So tell me what you guys think down in the comments. What do you think the new Ahsoka show is going to be about? What are your favorite moments from some of the Clone Wars, Rebels, Mandalorian, Boba Fett? What are some of your favorite Ahsoka Tano moments, and where do you think that this character is going to go, and how is she going to interact in the future with other characters in the new Star Wars TV shows and movies? If you liked this video, if you thought it was informative, please leave a like and subscribe. We also have a podcast channel where we go more in depth into movies and shows and all sorts of stuff. We just have a good time. So check that out. That's the Wiseworks podcast. Subscribe over there. Check out the Patreon, and we will see you guys in the next video. Thanks.
Okay, so we're going to get into if we could find ourselves dating someone like Ahsoka. Like,
No,
could you
Ahsoka.
be? Yeah, Ahsoka. Could you find?
Yeah.
We're gonna get into that, but first, I want to acknowledge something I learned, or I discovered.
Okay.
Watching your piece. So the first thing is, in many ways, Anakin was able to be a better father figure to Ahsoka than his own son.
Yeah.
And
that's
yet
kinda
it was
tough.
his own son and the compassion he had for his own son, Luke, that turned him from his dark ways.
Yeah.
And that's such a wonderful salvation story in a way for Darth Vader, and the emotions that come along with that from Ahsoka's side. To where when we're watching the original Star Wars, Ahsoka's not a glimmer in our eye.
No.
But then you expand into this multi-dimensional universe of Star Wars and the life of Anakin. And then you're like, wow, there was a major player in Anakin's life that cared and loved him. And she wasn't able to help him. But she got a chance to see him become who she knew he was.
It's truly, I think, the Ahsoka story is one of my favorites.
Oh, absolutely. She's incredible.
Just because we had the first 3 movies,
Mm-hmm.
you know, there's no Ahsoka.
No.
The prequels, no Ahsoka at all.
Yeah.
And then they introduced this character in a cartoon show.
Who's a little brat. Everyone's
Who's a
like,
brat.
why do we have this character?
And then somehow they make her like one of the best Jedi characters into Rebels and now into the live action, and manage to connect her to the live action characters that we saw in the original with Luke Skywalker. That's really cool to see, you know, this character who we thought, oh, you know, she's kind of just in the cartoons. She's not really a big character, even
She's
though
like
a lot of people...
A side quest.
Yeah, a lot of people really loved her. No, she's an established Jedi character who has a lot of story with a lot of the characters who we're seeing. Bo-Katan.
Yeah.
She's had a lot of interactions with Bo-Katan in the past. So it's really cool to see her, you know, break into the larger Star Wars world and the impact that she has had.
Yeah. And, you know, Luke was just developing in his mom's belly during Order 66.
Oh, yeah.
And yet she was present and around for that.
She was fighting Darth Maul.
She was fighting Darth Maul.
Yeah.
Bruh.
Yeah.
And then, in a lot of ways, I think the way you put her as, she's kind of in the, you know, post-Empire control world. She is the one in the galaxy that kind of holds that Jedi wisdom that Yoda once held, you know?
Yeah.
And it's cool to see that, like, no, you don't go to Luke for some deep wisdom.
Well, I think you go to Luke for your deep Jedi wisdom. I think you go to Ahsoka for your kind of to guide you on your path.
Yeah, maybe.
No matter what it is, because she's not really a Jedi.
Not really, but she's been all over the map.
Yeah, she's found a way.
She has experience with the Jedi and the Council, the old Council. She has experience during the whole Order 66 and then the rise of the Empire and then the fall of the Empire. And now she has experience with the next generation of Jedi led by Luke Skywalker. And she's kind of in the background right there with him, you know? So, and she has experience with the dark side through Darth Maul and all these other characters.
Not really.
And her own mentor.
Not really, you know, giving that Jedi wisdom, but being that person who's like, you know, for especially Mando's like, I can't teach him, but I know somebody who can. I know a Jedi who can, and I know how to tell you what to look for. She kind of has the knowledge.
She do.
She's got all the, you know,
The chops.
no, the word. What is it? She's got
Experience.
No, I'm losing the word. It's on the tip of my tongue.
Well, the harder you
She
think.
knows all the people. She knows the places.
Connections.
She got the connections,
You
dog.
forgot the word connections.
Yeah, I forgot the word connections. She's kind of, and I was also thinking when I was saying this, how she connects all the characters. It's like, haven't we seen this before in the Marvel Netflix TV shows? Her character connected, Rosario Dawson connected all the Marvel characters. She was in all of the shows as the same character, kind of bringing each character. You didn't watch the Marvel Netflix shows.
No, sir.
But she played the same kind of character, connecting everybody in all those shows as well. And I think it's funny to see her doing it again.
She's gonna keep doing it. It's
She's gonna
her.
keep doing it.
It's her destiny.
Yo, Rosario Dawson connects people. She connects people. That's what she does.
To get to the more important matter at hand, could you see yourself if a Jedi or a gray Jedi were to date for love and companionship? Could you find yourself with someone like her?
Someone like Ahsoka or Ahsoka?
Ahsoka.
Yes. Yeah. That's an easy question. I knew the answer from before you asked it.
I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah. No, Ahsoka's fine.
Yeah.
She's beautiful.
She is beautiful.
She's a great character. And she's
strong.
She's strong.
Independent. She'll protect your
She got
butt.
the know-how. She got the connections, you know? She knows what's up.
Yeah.
So,
All right, so
what about you?
I'm going to say, yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to say,
I'm going to
Yeah.
say, yeah.
yeah.
Look, she's an incredible character in the Star Wars universe. In my opinion, much more engaging than, no offense, the tired Skywalker story.
Mm.
She's much more engaging.
Rey Skywalker.
Yeah. What the heck?
Ahsoka is essentially everything that Rey isn't. You know, a character that's not overpowered, but also who is confident and who is cocky and who is, you know, making all the decisions, but with good character development.
And the reason for why she does what she does, as opposed to Rey, who's just like, I'm powerful and I don't know why. Let me figure out why.
And a real, actual connection to the Skywalker family. You know, a legit, really feels like a close connection.
Mm-hmm. A developed connection.
A developed connection.
That's
exactly.
right. I think her story might be some of the most beautifully told since the Darth Vader.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's got about as much.
That early Anakin is a little weird.
Yeah.
But it's important.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the Darth Vader as a character, we haven't seen someone as engaging since Ahsoka.
Yeah.
Or we haven't seen anyone as engaging as Ahsoka since Darth Vader.
Yeah.
So I want to we'll talk about this more in future weeks. Scale of 1 to 10. How excited are you for the Kenobi show that's going to be coming out not too long from now?
It seems like nowadays it's a little bit more. It's smart to be skeptical. You know, of what a show is going to be and what we're going to get. So,
and we're just getting data. We're getting data more and more. We have 2 awesome seasons of Mandalorian, and then Book of Boba Fett, which wasn't as well accepted.
Mm-hmm. I would say probably on a scale of excitement, I'm sitting pretty at a 7.
Sitting
I'm
pretty at a 7.
excited, but skeptical.
I definitely am looking forward to seeing Ewan McGregor again,
Mm-hmm.
and I hope his performance. As of late, I am finding more and more qualms with the writing that goes into these shows, the writing that goes into Hollywood in general. Because when it comes down to it, cinematography is rarely the issue. You know, the creatives behind the show is rarely the issue. Producers and directors sometimes is rarely the issue.
Yeah.
Because we'll see a producer or a director work on something that sucks, and then they turn around and do a redemptive project, and it's awesome. We saw the same with Knives Out. What was his name?
Rian Johnson.
Rian Johnson. We know he's a great director, but yet he made kind of the worst Star Wars film ever made.
Pretty bad.
So, but we love Knives Out. We're super excited about Knives Out too.
Yeah.
So I'm seeing more and more that the common denominator is going to fall into probably the line producers, the executive producers that we might see in certain companies like Amazon Prime, and then also these writers that are fresh off the iron.
Mm-hmm.
That honestly, their focus is not on creative storytelling; it's more on intertwining modern ideas with stories that we're just trying to be entertained by.
Mm-hmm.
So, one happy thing I am about is that hasn't leaked into Game of Thrones yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. And the thing is, I'm looking forward to House of the Dragon, which we'll probably do a Wacky Wonderful show on.
Oh yeah,
Game of Thrones, 100%.
Oh,
but so this is Star Wars Week 3.
Yeah. What do you of the upcoming Star Wars stuff? What are you most of excited about? Ahsoka. Oh yeah.
Yeah, of course. She's my most excited.
Not Mandalorian season 3.
I mean, it'll be good.
A little bit of Mando, a little bit.
It'll be good. It'll be good. All right. But I think Ahsoka might be better.
Okay.
I think Ahsoka might be better. Okay.
She might be in the season 3.
She's definitely going to be in season 3.
She was in a war on Mandalore.
Yeah, no, she's definitely.
He's going to Mandalore.
Yes.
She's been to Mandalore. I don't know.
And
that could be a connection.
She got the know-how.
She got the connections.
He'll be like, "Could you lead me to Mandalore? I've never been there.
I've never been.
I need to take a bath. Could you?
I don't have Google Maps on my phone.
Yeah.
Google Maps.
I don't have Google Maps. Look, Grogu can't get in there. He's too
No,
busy
he
with
can't.
eating frogs and playing with metal balls.
Tapping on the glass because he wants zoomies.
He wants zoomies. Thank you guys for watching. This has been the Wacky Wonderful Show with Joe and Wyatt.
Mhm.
And we are halfway through this Star Wars content.
Yeah.
And I'm enjoying it.
We'll probably come back to Star Wars again in the future as well.
We're always going to circle back.
Mhm.
Just like with other major franchises, like probably Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings, that when we
Dune.
eventually do Lord of the Rings. A Dune,
Dune.
of course. Of course. We're going to circle back around to a lot of these, just because they play such a heavy role in storytelling and what we all enjoy these days. We'll dive into Marvel at some point.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. 100%. I know you're not as excited. I'm gonna be very excited.
You're going to be stoked.
Yeah.
Look, we love you guys for watching. Once more, if you are interested in supporting on the Patreon, we humbly ask if that's your thing that you would do so. It would be awesome. The link is in the description. You can find us by searching Wiseworks and Patreon. There's a couple tiers that you can choose from, and that includes getting this show like nearly a week early.
Yeah.
Before everyone else does. And once again, just to let you guys know, if you're interested in watching on Spotify, this show is now going to be on Spotify as well. So thank you guys. Just search Wiseworks Podcast. We'll be there. So thanks so much for watching this week. And
May the force be with you always.
fear is the mind killer.